This KGCT 8 Legal Mind segment is brought to you by AB and Associates Law Firm. From families to business owners, their results speak for themselves. They measure success by the outcomes they achieve for their clients. AB and Associates can be reached at 832-243-1763, or you can learn more by going to ablegal.com. KGCT8's Pat O'Reilly sat down with our KGCT8 legal expert Izan Wanyi Abi to discuss disputed liability auto claims, and our expert Mrs. Abi offers some very good and practical advice to help in the event of a vehicle accident, including an accident where there is disputed liability.
Today on the Legal Mind segment, I'm joined by a real expert, a licensed attorney that's going to help us sort out a disputed liability claim, and that's Miss Abi. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's get into disputed liability. What does disputed liability mean when it comes to an auto claim?
Disputed liability simply means when we cannot determine who is at fault. Each party claims that they are not at fault, and it is unclear who exactly is at fault.
And so that takes a lot of work, a lot of investigative work, sorting out facts, a lot of information. So let's talk about some of the tips for someone that's involved in an accident, especially when it becomes a disputed liability claim, and you don't always know that it's going to be disputed liability when the accident happens. So what are some of those tips that folks can follow so they don't end up in one of those type of situations?
Right. So the first thing, as you just mentioned, when the accident happens, you don't know what it's going to be or what's going to happen. You want to make sure that you collect as much evidence as possible, that you have as much information at the scene of the accident. That means you're taking pictures. You're taking pictures not just from what you've seen, but different angles, names, contacts of the other driver, insurance information. Call the police. Make sure you have some sort of a record of making the call at the very least, or at least getting a police report. As much fact as possible is going to be the most important thing.
And also getting those witnesses, and sometimes that's a little challenging because folks are in a hurry and they want to go. So if you have the opportunity to safely get the information from those that witnessed the wreck, that's so important and carries so much weight when you're trying to sort out whose fault it was.
Absolutely. So part of the scene of the crime, 9 times out of 10, someone is going to stop, right? Someone wants to stop to see what happened and maybe just investigate, because human beings are as curious as can be. So yes, definitely getting information from the witnesses. What did they see? Where were they standing? What did they observe? That information would be very useful for you when you're in the position where we have to have a dispute about who's responsible.
Yeah, and so also at that accident scene, when you're taking those photos, it's, I believe, important as a claims adjuster that's worked through claims is getting those photos from all the different angles out there, not only of just the vehicle damage, which I've seen that be done, is they just take pictures of the vehicle, but also the accident scene, because that can tell the story right there all by itself.
Absolutely, because the accident, especially if you're focused on the damage to the car, you're not really getting an idea of what happened and what could help you determine responsibility. As you just mentioned, vantage point is very important. What else? Any debris on the floor, any other thing that's surrounding the area. So the lights, the location, the angles of the car. You want to get more than just the detail of the car. You're absolutely correct about that.
Yeah, and also if you have that debris that you're talking about, a point of impact can tell you a lot where the debris ends up. So getting those photos as well, and of course it goes without saying, we're going to say it anyway, is be careful out there when you're at the accident scene trying to get these photos. You don't want to end up with another accident.
Absolutely.
And let's talk a little bit about the dash cam. I'm a big fan of them. I've got them in all my cars, and I think that that is a worthwhile investment and can prevent a much of like what we're talking about with disputed liability.
Absolutely. The dash cam is, it's very necessary in this day and age, right? Because it gives you a first-hand perspective of what happened. It gives you, as you mentioned, you have one in all your cars. In every car, you can have one that gives you vision, what's going on in front of you, what's happening behind you. But it definitely gives you some other account beyond yourself, because you might forget, or you might not pay attention to all the details, or you may have missed something about a light change in a couple seconds. So the dash cam really helps give an additional perspective where everything is not reliant on your thoughts or your ability to remember.
Yeah, and like they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's perhaps worth 1,000,000 words.
Absolutely.
And so that's so important to have that. Again, they're really inexpensive. For less than $100, you can get a dash cam that's forward-facing and rear-facing.
Yeah.
And something else, let's talk about when there's that conversation between the parties, is often someone would give that recorded statement to the inside insurance adjuster and say, well, the other party said. which
Yeah.
we know that's just hearsay.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to be very careful when you have an accident. You don't want to say anything incriminating, regardless of what happened in your position or what you think may be your responsibility. It's very important that you just take a moment to pause. You can talk about the facts, get the information that's necessary, but you don't need to have any further conversations about the accident. It's not up to you as the driver to determine responsibility. You call the police, you get some reports, you talk to some witnesses, because if there are people around you, you want to get their perspective as well. But you don't have to say anything, because you might say the wrong thing, incriminate yourself, make a comment that you just thought was a joke, but maybe it now can be used as evidence against you. So you want to be very careful about what you say.
Yeah, so just the facts. And I think that's so important, especially when the insurance adjusters are in the stage of gathering all the information. Is not guesswork, is you give them the facts as you know it.
Right.
And let's talk a little bit about once a claim is handled, and we're talking about a disputed liability claim, there's also is it going to be a chargeable claim? Is it going to affect my rates? Is my insurance premiums going to go up all because of an accident?
Right.
So a disputed liability claim doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a chargeable claim.
Right.
And so that's why it's important to give them all the information and talk to your adjuster about that premium increase if it goes to underwriting, and do everything you can to give them the information they need to make the determination that it's not a chargeable claim.
Absolutely. That's something else to remember. Not all accidents are going to be chargeable. You don't get to make that determination. The insurance determines that. So what you always want to do is focus on the facts, give the information that is required of you, provide the evidence that you have gathered, as we just advised, and let the experts do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and now for the big question. When do you hire an attorney?
I recommend you hire an attorney immediately. My recommendation, not just because I'm an attorney, but it really takes a lot of the guesswork away from you, is once an accident happens, you call the cops, you gather the evidence, excuse me, you call the cops, you gather the evidence, do reach out to an attorney ASAP, because there could be things that you need to do or you should have done that day or the day after, and if you don't talk to an experienced professional, you wouldn't have any idea what you're supposed to do, and you may go do something else that further causes more issues to your case. So it's always advisable to call one as soon as possible.
Yeah, if it's not just a clear, cut and dry type of situation, then getting legal counsel is a very wise thing to do to help navigate through something that can be very complex. So I appreciate your help today with going through what we're calling a disputed liability claim. And for those that have been through it, you know what we're talking about. For those that haven't, you got a lot of good tips today that perhaps will help prevent you ending up in this very situation. So again, we're here with an expert, an attorney, licensed attorney, Ms. Abi. I really appreciate your help today.
Thank you, my pleasure.
This KGCT 8 Legal Mind segment has been brought to you by AB & Associates Law Firm. From families to business owners, their results speak for themselves. They measure success by the outcomes they achieve for their clients. AB & Associates can be reached at 832-243-1763, or you can learn more by going to ablegal.com.
KGCT 8